Welcome to Poemalogues. My name is Dasha Kelly Hamilton, and I am going to be your guide in a conversation today about body. So what Poemalogues is an opportunity to get some voices around a table, a virtual table at that, to have a discussion about the things we talk about all the time anyway. And the poem part of the Poemalogues is that we're using poetry as a way to launch these discussions. Now, what Poemalogue is not is a literary evaluation of the canon of poetry. That's another show for another day. So this is a chance to get a few folks to give us their experience, their insights, their opinions about so many conversations about the topic body. So for me personally, this week in thinking about the topic of body, the invitation to everyone and to you as well, if you have a comment or a poem or a thought, you can definitely join our chat thread. From wherever you're watching, you can add your commentary on the line and we'll be able to involve it in this discussion. So when I first thought about body this go round, I actually thought about toes. I know. Now, for me personally, I am a huge fan of my own feet. It is one of my favorite parts of my body to take care of, and I know that people have particular opinions about their own feet and toes. But I thought about toes. When you think about the whole body, we always have that one thing that really in the scheme of things is inconsequential. I've never gained or lost anything because of my toes or my feet, but some people feel that way about toes, about their crooked teeth, about that the way that their gait may not be as rhythmic or as fluid as they want. And we are often critical about the smallest things on our body, about the parts of our body. And then we obsess about things. And I know I'm not by myself. So I actually chose toes and feet because I actually am a huge fan of my feet. But if we had been charged to list of things that I'm not a huge fan of, you see, I didn't do that. So our body as a total, our body as this carrier of how we move through the world, and for the little parts of that carrier to have such a huge impact about how we are able to move and walk, is a conversation. So that was my first thing, and I'll share the poem that I found at the end to accent that discussion. So our first voice that I would like to bring to the screen to have their conversation about body is Mr. Andy Sabola.
Hey, Dasha, how are you? Nice to see
you. Wonderful, sir. How are you doing these days?
Doing okay. Doing okay.
So what did you interrupt to make space for this conversation about body?
I was trying to take a nap.
No, I like you say you were trying to take a nap.
All of these like Zoom, FaceTime, all of this like screen stuff is actually, I find it tiring. And like if I can take 20 minutes out every day and just close my eyes for a minute, it helps me get back to.
And isn't that wild that I'm hearing people saying they're working more,
yes,
and they're more exhausted. And it's really from sitting still and looking at this screen. Why do you think what is it for you that makes it more exhausting than less?
I think if I'm working like in an office or if I'm talking on the phone, I pace. I walk around the house, I do laps. And that's a way that my mind is able to like find thoughts and sort of get my ideas together. And I think my best thinking happens when I'm moving.
Okay.
So being like trapped in this little box where you're like staring at the screen all day.
I agree. Well, tell us, Andy, who are you? Tell us your whole life story.
Okay.
Like 90 seconds.
Yikes. So I'm Andy Sabola. I was born and raised in Northampton, Massachusetts, which is middle of nowhere, 2 hours west of Boston. I was raised Jehovah's Witness. I was a very gay little kid. And once I realized you couldn't pray the gay away, I knew that I had to plan an escape route. So at 18, I moved to Boston. I started going to music school. One summer, I started working at an investment company, kind of like just on the phone, just like a phone jockey. And at the end of the summer, they offered me a full-time job. And I kind of looked around and I was like, these people are not that smart and they're making a lot of money. Maybe I should do this and drop out of music school. So I did that. And I worked in finance for a long, long time. Married my partner. We moved to Austin, Texas. I burnt out from traveling and doing the finance thing for so many years. It felt like a mask. It felt like not a real life. It was, conservative and misogynistic and racist and homophobic and all of that. So I decided to quit and I opened a gelato shop in Austin, Texas called Gelateria Gemelli. Gemelli means Gemini in Italian. I'm a Gemini. Watch out.
Uh-oh.
And yeah, that was my first love. Broke up with a partner. Was feeling a little, stuck in Austin. That was a different life. That was a different dream. And I took an opportunity in New York City. And so the store is still around. I love it very much. I go back to Austin often until recently. But yeah, moved to New York to work for my friend's startup. And I'm loving being back on the East Coast. It's totally home for me. So.
Oh my goodness. How, and I'm just curious about that initial love with music. Do you get a chance to play? How do you, because that doesn't go away. How do you feed that?
Yeah, I mean, that's still music to me. Playing for myself, music is in my life all the time. There's always a soundtrack, there's always a playlist, but it's an emotional release to me. I do it, it's a thing for myself. For a long time, I didn't like performing in front of other people. I totally am okay with it now. At the end of it, I have my childhood piano in my apartment, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
And my mom let me have it. So it's not fancy and then it's clunky and falling apart, but I still love it. And, at the end of a dinner party, it's, I got a Prince medley that we all sing along to, stuff like that. It's just a fun thing to get people together to sing and to be silly and to have that emotional release, which I think in these days we all got to have.
Yeah, most definitely. So so do you play the medley for yourself in these days?
Sometimes I do.
Okay. You're among friends. It's all right. So tell me, Andy, how did you enter this conversation about body?
Well, I think especially when we started lockdown, I was feeling very low energy, and I'm a pretty active person. I love my spin class. I love lifting weights. The gym is I always have felt like my mental health and how much physical activity I'm getting is like a straight line. That's how I've dealt with stress and anxiety for a long time. And for some reason through this, I was just feeling really tired and really low energy. And instead of, beating myself up for not doing a home yoga class on YouTube or whatever, I was just kind of like, I think you need to feel these feelings right now. And if it means you're low energy, you're low energy. You have to give yourself that space. So I was kind of, in the beginning, I felt almost guilty or shameful that I wasn't being as active as I could be. There's no excuse to not get out the yoga mat and do the yoga class. But, I think if you just got to sit there and think or lay down and think, well, I think it's really easy to substitute activity for trauma. Does that make sense? So if you're feeling
say it again, Pastor, say it again.
It's really easy to substitute activity for trauma. And we're rewarded in our culture for being productive. So, maybe you're upset about something or something traumatic happened. Okay, I'm just going to work out. I'm just going to work hard. I'm going to work later. I'm going to do more. And that's noise right now. You gotta sit and think and work on yourself. So
I appreciate that the idea of something physical. It's the same folder as noise, where it's a filler, it's something you're doing to distract. And like so many other things, you want to be authentic in it. You want to be present, and all those other words that we know what they mean. We don't always activate how they show up. Yeah. But to be so mindful of, one, the things that you're doing to distract yourself from the hurt, to distract yourself from, and it's an avalanche of feelings, of anxiety, of worry, of being lonely. And that shows up in the body too. So on one hand, being able to exercise you are dealing with those emotions. So absent of that, then how are you dealing with all the emotions? Right. So sitting in it, yes. But if you're on a treadmill, how are you sorting through them all?
Yeah. I'm not really a big meditator, but I'm trying to do that more, and separating myself from the media, which can just drag you down if you keep checking New York Times all day long. And honestly, music changes, my feelings. It can have such an impact on who you are and where you are. And so being able to play, I try not to annoy my neighbors too much with it, but and then just keeping the soundtrack going. I think it's how I'm in therapy. I have a therapist. I quit my fancy job for the gelato shop. People always say, what do I need to know if I want to start my own business? And I'm like, keep your gym membership and keep your therapist. Those are the things you need to keep from your own.
Hold on, let me write that down because I surely didn't have one of those in the toolkit. That would have come right in handy for this whole thing going on.
You can afford it, and you want to be, start your own business, and you're leaving a corporate kind of safe thing. The things that you need to do is to hang on to your gym membership and your therapist. That's my.
I'm gonna go back a bit with your early relationships. Then I'm just curious with your life habit of working out, yogas, Pilates, all the things. All the things. Mm-hmm. In this honesty moment with yourself, do you think you'll like reevaluate how and why you work out moving forward when you're able to do so freely? Like, did you join the gym because you had to or because you wanted to?
I think, this kind of ties to my poem for later, but like I kind of grew up not liking myself, like not liking my body. Mm-hmm. And then I discovered exercise, and it worked for me. And I think since some of that old armor has come off as I've hopefully gotten wiser a little bit, over the years, mm-hmm. that I don't need that to like myself anymore. I can be okay, without spin class. You can still like yourself without the spin class.
I don't know. Well, yes, without spin class. Don't even start about spin. That is a whole separate sort of torture.
Cults. Yeah. It's fun though. I like it. I'm not gonna lie.
So how do you? And I'm all in your cabinets now. But you love your body. You tolerate this container, like I mentioned earlier, because it is a relationship.
It is. And you don't always love it. My pants are a little tight since we've been on lockdown, not gonna lie. But I just think you gotta keep forgiving yourself and loving yourself. This is so cheesy. Cliches are cliches for a reason, right? Mm-hmm. But it's the RuPaul, Whitney Houston, learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all, right? So like, if you can be okay with who you are and stop looking in the mirror and disliking what you see, you're gonna be a better friend, a better partner, a better human in the universe, I think.
Before we move into your poem, if you could share, because you're right, cliches are cliches for a reason. There's a nugget of truth and real and reality in there, and you can't go wrong with Whitney Houston, right? But how did you take it past just the words? Right? Is there a small thing that you did, or a habit, or something that someone said to you? Because we all have that little affirmation Post-it note. Yeah, doesn't really mean anything. How did you make this loving yourself a real thing and not just words?
I think it came from being tired of disliking myself, and being afraid that I was going to go through I was never going to live completely unencumbered in life if I did not stop hating myself. Okay. It was like a matter of life and death. It was like, you better love yourself or this life is not worth living.
Did you hear that, people? You better love yourself. You better. It's just harder otherwise. Yeah. And like everything else, love gets to be a continuum maybe. So you're not always going to like you. And one of the things that we know, and we are all super, super grown, and we know all these things, and still these are the conversations in our heads we have to keep having, or we get to keep having. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about the poem. What poem did that lead you to?
Ooh, it's called Battle. It's by Yrsa Daley Ward. It's intense. I think of it personally, and it's just a little meditation, it's just a couple lines. But I was with someone for a very long time who did not like himself. And it's really hard to be in a relationship with someone who doesn't like themselves. And, he never felt comfortable in his own body either. And it just, while it's heartbreaking, you want to tell them that they're beautiful all day long. Sometimes you just learn that, this is not going to work because you can't love me the way I need to be loved because you don't love yourself. Mm-hmm. So do you want me to read it?
Yes, please.
Okay. It's called Battle. Loving someone who hates themselves is a special kind of violence, a fight inside the bones, a war within the blood. That's it.
Mic drop and we're done. Excellent. Thank you. I'm going to have you come back and we're going to keep this conversation going. The next voice I would like to bring to the screen is coming all the way from the ATL. We're going to bring Miss Queen Sheba to the screen.
What up, though? What up, everybody?
I like that proper tilt on that proper brim.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, got my pimp on right
I
down
mean,
here.
you
Got
a
to
day
fit
that ends in day.
in.
So how are you? So how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good, actually. I'm actually enjoying our quarantine, not quarantine. I've been thinking of it like the string on a grown elephant. I don't know if you know that's a thing they do in the circus. They tie a baby elephant to a string, and they are used to it being there. They're used to being tied to this pole that they can't move. But when they get grown to 1,100,000 pounds, they can easily break the string, but since they're so used to it being there, they don't, and they just stay. So, yeah.
Because you have freedom to move around, but
we're not.
But not in Atlanta.
But we're not. Right. So our Brian Kemp, lifted our stay at home. We're free to do whatever, but restaurants are not necessarily opening. The chain gyms are not opened. Some businesses are like, nah, we're good. And mostly people are just staying in the house unless they really have somewhere to go. I mean, I live downtown in the West End of Atlanta, and I got to what normally would take me 45 minutes to get to in like 10 minutes the other day. I was like, there's space on the freeway, so it's been interesting. I'm doing a lot. I wrote a book, 2 books, and out of that, I'm doing a lot.
So it's a 2-month mark for you all?
2 months. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess before this discussion, you were just roaming freely out in the street, running errands and going in stores.
Yeah, I actually I run a lot. Like I said, I live in the West End, which is 2 miles from everything. So I actually literally ran, like jogged up to Ace Hardware to get some paint, and I realized they're closed. So things like that. So stores are still closing early. Kroger, who was open 24 hours, and then 1 a.m. and then 11 p.m. and now 9 or 8 p.m. depending on the day. So it's just like people and businesses are making adjustments. Nobody's like, boom, we're back. And as a poetry promoter, the venues aren't necessarily open yet. And so it's interesting. People are maneuvering. So Ace was closed at 4. I forgot all about it, and they had to run back. And so right before this, I was painting my porch.
You become handy?
I'm not necessarily that good at it, but some neighborhood fellows came by and was like, we noticed that you're painting. Do you need some help? And I was like, how much do you want? Because I don't want to do this ceiling as I'm looking up and have to kill my neck.
I guess. We'll have the same experience in the winter when the snow drops. Like, I was just, you know what? You showed up right on time.
Go ahead, brother.
My husband was almost about to get out here and hit the snow.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about how you landed in Atlanta. Tell us your whole life story.
Oh shit. I was practicing this before. Okay. Here we go. Follow this, y'all. Follow this. I was born, because nobody gets this right. Nobody knows where I'm from. So I was born in Kalamazoo, Michigan, which is like northwest of Detroit. I was born there to a white and Cherokee mother and a black father. They were not together, and the mother gave me up for adoption at 8 months, which is when a child is pulling themselves up on furniture and walking around, because her father, who was full-blooded Cherokee, said that he didn't want a black baby in his family. So she lied and told her parents that she was gang raped and put me up for adoption at 8 months. So I was then adopted to an all-white family who was living in Jackson, Michigan, which is like southwest Michigan-ish. They were living in Jackson, Michigan, but as they were adopting me, it took them 2 years, they were transitioning, who I now call my father, to Detroit, Michigan. So they adopted me in Jackson, technically. I was born in Kalamazoo up north. Then down in Jackson, they adopted me. Then we moved to Detroit. I lived in Detroit until I was 15. I then went to a youth home for 1 year, a locked youth home. And then I went to an open youth home, and I graduated high school out of this open youth home in Grand Rapids Central. Then from Grand Rapids Central, which is like northeast or something like that, from Grand Rapids Central, I literally threw a dart and a map and married this high school sweetheart from Grand Rapids, Michigan, who was living in Norfolk, Virginia. So that's how I got to Norfolk, where Dasha and I met, right?
Uh-huh.
So in April of 93, he sends me I think a letter, like a actual letter, and was like, I'm still in love. And he's Puerto Rican. And he was crazy. Doesn't go together, but he separately was Puerto Rican and separately crazy.
Okay.
And he sent me a letter, like a Valentine's Day card, and was like, I'm still in love with you. I can't stop thinking about you from high school. And we were on the same tracks. And he was like, come to Norfolk, Virginia. I'm in the Navy. Little did I know he was like an E1, which is like nothing. And he was like, come and I'll take care of you. And I was like, okay. But I knew I was lying. I didn't really want to go. I just wanted to get out of Michigan because I'm in Grand Rapids after high school, not doing shit. Weirdly, I was dating one of the DeBarge's cousins. So I'm 17, 18 years old, dating a 38, 40-year-old, and he eventually died later of AIDS. I know it's a crazy story right now. This has got to go in somebody write my biography for me.
It's happening.
Right. So Lewis, who is the Puerto Rican I went to high school with, I end up in Norfolk, Virginia. I take a Greyhound bus. This is in one of my poems. Take a Greyhound bus from Grand Rapids, Michigan to Washington, D.C. He comes to pick me up. He has to go out to sea 3 days later. I'm wilding that summer. Summer of 93, I'm wild. I got his little green Renault car buzzing around the city, fucking every guy I could find on the base, off the base. I'm fucking everybody. Like, it's just
You're
wild.
what, 18?
18.
Okay.
18 technically April of 93. So, oh shit. Y'all doing math? Don't worry about it. I was 4. I was 4 years old. I was 4. So he goes out to sea for like 3 months. I'm spending all his money. He trusted me with, I know he has zero money on the boat. I didn't realize that was a thing. I am regretful about that part. I didn't realize he needed money out in the water. My bad. So he comes back. And it's the day I was moving. I had made friends over the summer. Like, he's gone, right? I met guys. I met my homegirls. Like, I'm light skinned with long hair, early 90s. What? In the South? I'm swinging on these hoes. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, so we out here wild. We call ourselves the Fab Five. We were at every club, every night. Norfolk, Virginia. I know I'm spending a long time on this part, but I was in Norfolk because it is a big part for 12 years. So I was there from I was there from 93 until 2005. So that's the parameter I was there. But in 98, 99 is when I was introduced to spoken word as we know it. Now, I was kind of already writing as I was like, oh yeah, I didn't consider myself a poet. I was just writing poems for therapy, kind of like what Andy was saying. And somebody introduced me to the open mic. Fast forward. I met Lamar Hill first. He came to Norfolk, Virginia to an open mic that we were doing. Like, I'm trying to speed through my life right now. So Norfolk, Virginia is a huge chunk in the beginning of my spoken word career. So 98, 99, I was graduating undergrad at Old Dominion University, got into a poetry club, started doing poetry at an open mic in this art gallery. They moved because they graduated, passed it off to me and Godchild. Me and Godchild made it blow because I was on the Apollo and 106 in Park within 6 months of each other. So we went from a small art gallery to 30 people to booming 200 people every other Friday. Fast forward. I had my son in 94. I met my son's father in Norfolk, Virginia, because it's a big military town, like I said. Then I graduated from college in 2000, and then I ended up moving to Atlanta in the summer of 2005, right before Katrina hit. So not because of Katrina, it was like it was crazy. It was like a week or two before Katrina hit. I was just done with Virginia. Everybody I knew had moved. It's a very transient town. And so as I was growing in my spoken word career, that kind of topped out in Norfolk. Like, there was really nothing else to do there. I was either to grow as a spoken word artist, I was either gonna have to move to at least DC, if not like Philly, New York area, or out to LA. And somebody was like, what about Atlanta? And I was like, Atlanta. I do know some people there. John Good, Tommy Bottoms, Malik Salam. I didn't know Georgia Me at the time, but of course knew of her. And I was like, that might be cool. It's warm. I'm used to Virginia's warm. So I called up my homegirl Queen. She was like, oh, I just had a roommate move out. So I moved to Atlanta summer of 2005. And that's where I've been ever since. So it's been 15 years this summer. I love it here. I had my first long-term girlfriend. I dated women, you know, in college was when I dated my first woman. I think my junior year or so, that was ended terribly. But I had my first long-term relationship with a woman here in Atlanta, and I'm in my second long-term relationship now with my partner DJ Know That, and we're a trip. We're hilarious, and but it's been cool. And you know, we started Poetry versus Hip Hop and a whole bunch of other shit. You know,
check you out.
What happened?
I said check you.
Yeah, I love it here. It's great. And I did go, and this is where kind of people get confused and say I'm from Charlotte. While I was still living here, I also rented a condo with Ed Mabry in Charlotte for 2 years, and I went to grad school there. And my son's side of the family lives there too, so it was convenient. I ended up going to Queen's University for my MFA, and actually because of you and Gina. That's right. Now that I'm like ching ching and my brain is like ding ding ding. So really what happened, because I usually skip that part of the story because I hated Antioch. So actually Dasha Kelly and Gina Loring are solely responsible for getting me into grad school. No shit. Because both of them were like, because Gina moved here for a minute to Atlanta and she was like, Sheba, why don't you? And it was weird because Gina and I weren't close. We have no beef whatsoever, but we're not close. Like we don't talk on the phone or anything like that. I think you and I stay in touch more than her. And so it was just odd. Good odd, like a good positive odd that she was adamant about me coming to Antioch. She was like, no, you need to come. You need to come. You need to come to grad school. And I'm like, okay. And then ironically, they turned me down the first year because that first year that y'all were there, I got denied. And then I came the year that y'all were graduating. So my first year was y'all graduating year, and I fucking hated Antioch. It was too far. It was too white. It was too racist. Remember that fucking professor? But it was a whole bunch of shit happening. Mm-hmm. Then the whole keeping them certified, all those fucking reports we had to do. I was like, I'm the fuck up out of here. And so I did have to go to Antioch for 1 year because you have to go to grad school for a year before you can transfer. So then I transferred to Queen's University in Charlotte. We ended up going to South America for study abroad. Thank you, Fred and Heather. I appreciate it. That shit was amazing. And then I was kind of close to home. Right. And that's how I met DJ Know That, actually. Still, and the whole time I had my fourth Sunday open mic here in Atlanta. So, and that's how we met. And here I am.
And here we are, still scribbling and still traveling and still rocking that brim to the side.
Well, yeah, so I'm growing locks for the first time ever in any serious fashion. Yeah. And so I no longer have an afro, but my locks are curly, but my homegirl just gave me Bantu knots and I'm not used to that on my face yet. So any Zoom video call, I always put on a hat or a scarf or something. What'd you say?
Until you get it just right.
But you know, in a couple of days, it really just looks like a big curly afro again, but they're locked up. I'm enjoying the journey. I did think because I live in Atlanta that I was going to go from like the beginning stages to lock extensions, and everybody's like, don't do it. Your hair is too beautiful. And I'm like, yeah, but it's short as shit and I'm ready for long hair. You know?
And I'm impatient.
Which is
almost went with a piece about hair. Get that conversation for this discussion today. Well, tell me, where did you enter this conversation about body?
So that's interesting that we're at that because I am 40 plus. And if y'all doing math, but I don't look 40, right? People usually think I'm 10 years younger than I am. However, I exercise a lot. Like Andy, I was going to the gym 3 times a week. I run every day now, actually, especially because of the coronavirus. There's no group runs. Group runs haven't come back yet. And I was teaching a track workout for adults. So I run every single day. Like I just said, I ran up to ACE. But my body doesn't look like I want it to look. And that's really hard for me because I've been unhappy with my body for a long time. Like I've always wanted my breasts to be perkier and I've never had a flat stomach with abs. My body shape is wide shoulders and narrow hips, which that body shape carries all of our weight in our torso. And So especially now that I'm 40 plus, and I have, that kind of poochie gut, and the only way, and I got perimenopause really early, like at 38. And so I've been suffering with perimenopause and hot flashes continuously since 38 years old. And so, wow. I mean, that's at least 4 or 5 years. And it's been really hard for my body to balance out. And even when I'm eating bare bones twigs and berries, you know what I mean, then I'll flatten out, but I necessarily won't, tone the way I want to, unless I'm like adamant every fucking day in the gym. And not to make excuses, but that's a whole separate life. You know what I mean? So running plus the gym, plus spin class, plus HIIT class, and then
twigs and berries.
Plus fruit, right? Plus twigs and berries, plus a full-time job, plus poetry versus hip hop, and plus my own touring schedule, and makes it a little difficult. But so I'm really toying with the idea of plastic surgery and body sculpting. Ooh. I'm toying with. I haven't got it yet, and I'm thinking about it. I'm contemplating it. I'm a little scared to get the stomach liposuction because I don't want anything to go wrong. Mm-hmm. But I am considering having fat transfer from my love handles that no matter what my weight is, I could be down 50 pounds and they still kind of stick out on the sides. And then I just have always had issues with my ass being flat as fuck. So, and I hate to say that I live in Atlanta, but the media really fucking gets to me. And I'm not ashamed to say that. I haven't decided to do it yet. I do know all the tricks, y'all. I know how to dress. You follow me on Instagram. I'm fly as fuck. I know to wear high-waisted shit. I know where to wear. I know wear poofy skirts to give me a shape. I know where to wear belts. But it's just like when I'm naked, you know what I mean? And there's that confidence level that Andy was also talking about too. So I work out for confidence. Yeah, I'm cool. I'm fine. I look good. I'm cute, blah, blah, blah. But when I'm naked and that little pooch is there and my breasts are hanging a little lower than I want to, that shit drives me nuts. It drives me nuts alone at home. Now, I'm not even talking about in public or at a beach or at a pool,
What would be, so does it feel like a battle or you're negotiating?
It does feel like a battle. I am dealing with a lot of anxiety. My partner has breast cancer. And so I know, right? So she has stage three breast cancer, and she's going a holistic route, and she's positive. She's up, good. She good. She ain't even here now. Whoever the fuck she doing, you know what I mean? But she's fine. But it's just, but it's different when you have a time clock in your chest, you know what I mean? Versus just, I could go outside and get hit by a bus while I'm running short, but we're not up thinking about that in the morning. Like we don't wake up and that. So I'm definitely dealing with anxiety, definitely dealing with adjusting to learning new technology, almost being damn near IT in your own house. You know what I mean? Learning the OBS system, learning the DJ system, learning IG and Facebook, and staying on top of that. And really DJ Khaled is the one who taught me, and he did not speak to me personally, but he was on a documentary called American Meme. And I know a lot of people skipped it because they thought it was fluff, but actually American Meme is not fluff, and I'm not getting any money off of it. It's on Netflix, and it's dope as hell. And it looks like some bullshit. It's not bullshit. And he was on there talking about that he makes a point to keep up with technology because that's what the kids are listening to. And so it's really kind of cool being at Clark Atlanta because they keep me up on language, they keep me up on fashion, they keep me up on, what they're doing. They're the ones who told me to get back on Twitter. They're like, Facebook? Facebook is for my mom. I'm like, calm down, little kid. Little bitch, okay? Calm down. Right. So they're like, no, Queen Sheba, because they call me Professor Queen Sheba. They were like, no, you need to be on Twitter.
Does that feed into the how you're evaluating your negotiation with your body, right? So not only is it the media, not only is it you're in ATL and it's all of the glamour, all the glory, and all of the just booty rocket everywhere, and you're also on campus with these young folks.
And let me tell you, that HBCU is everything, every rumor you've ever heard. They go to class in neon with no bras on. And I'm all for women's body liberation, but I grew up that school was professional. That even as a student, your job was to show up and be professional. I'm not saying wear a suit and tie to school, but I'm saying that's your fucking job. Like your parent, Clark is a private institution. That's $40,000 a year. So you want to show up with no bra and some neon biker shorts on? I'm not for that. And so when I have the beginning of my class, I tell them, look, I understand, you know, whatever your revolution is right now, I totally get it. I said, but we do presentations in here. And if you stand up and turn around and your nipples are showing to the class, I don't think that's appropriate. And the same for the guys, pull your fucking pants up and put on the belt.
They respond to the bralessness. I had experience recently when going to B&V. And it was just one particular, and I know it's not anything new, but this particular summer, and B&V incidentally is for the folks watching, Brave New Voices.
Bralessness with see-through shirts, not just bralessness.
Okay, but it was a lot. It's a similar. You're talking about how you were raised. My understanding was, you go braless if you're a B cup or smaller. So it was just everybody with mammaries was just free, and I found how I was responding to. I was very aware that I was processing what was right and what was wrong and who should and who shouldn't. And so, like you said, okay, this is a revolution. Okay, this isn't about, and I need to, and owning what was odd for me. So I hear what you're saying, how you are still have your barometer of how things should go, right or wrong.
Yeah, because I think that some things are expression. I think there's a place for expression. I think some things are just overkill. It's like, put on a bra, come to class. You know what I mean? You're distracting me. You know, so
what was some of the feedback that you got?
None.
The comment that none. Okay, I'll wear a bra. What about? I'm really interested to know the brothers and the pants. I tell my husband all the time, you know, we're driving. So I just want to be able to tap somebody and say, explain to me why this is. I don't want to be the old lady.
You know,
I think the old lady.
As a professor in college, I think they respect what you say. I think they're like, oh, this is your classroom. So in your classroom, then I'm going to pull up my pants and wear a bra or a jacket or whatever. If I don't want to wear a bra, because my thing is, I don't want to see your areolas. Like if you don't want to wear a bra and you a triple Z and you got on a black shirt, okay. You know what I mean? But I just don't think you should be wearing a white V-neck, low cut, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're here to talk about poems and expression, and I think there's a way to do that. And you know, within, of course, we had somebody raped and murdered on campus last year, a student. Mm-hmm. So she was a roommate with another girl, and the girl's boyfriend raped her. And then I think the two girls got into an argument about it. I'm fast forwarding through the story. We got into an argument about it. And then they started fighting. The boyfriend jumps in. The girl puts a bag over the one who died head. And they were looking for her for a week. And the girl had went home to Detroit, ironically. And then the guy was somewhere. But the girl ended up coming back and confessing.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, it was horrible on campus.
And the idea of that kind of rage, you know what I mean? So it's definitely
in your apartment. Like imagine a fight breaking out with your neighbor, and they were roommates for 4 years, and the boyfriend was new, so they're fighting over new dick. I'm like, you've been my homie for 4 years, so what the fuck? You know what I mean?
I hope that I'm not trust with the campus. There were the series of conversations, but outside of the programmed health and help, just the discussions that not just for those women on campus, but across the board, how we talk with each other about new and old dick would be definitely a revolution to have a different approach. Yeah. Kima and I, we often talk about. We have these conversations about how we are programmed to enter these conversations and situationships, you know. So we declared that he is the president of Dude School and I'm the dean of the Chick Academy, and we come into all of these things with incredibly bad habits and expectations about how relationships and humans are going to go up, and are going to get along or not get along together. But that's a tragic story, and I'm sorry that it happened the student campus. But I want to go back to you and your broad shoulders.
Yes.
And so at the end of all of this, and I'm fast forwarding to the worst possible story, and I want to get to your poem. What would give you peace? Right? So you'll have this figure, or you will lose the love handles.
And for you and for those watching, again, I feel like I'm going to try everything first, but the love handles are not going anywhere. And I've had a C-section, a horizontal C-section, which removes that lower muscle part. So I will never be able to have a 6-pack. The most I could do is 4. And usually when I'm marathon training, for those of you who are new to me, I run a marathon a year and I'm always running. So I'll get the 2 muscles on top and then the sides. And so imagine you're in your best shape, you're running, you're fit, you're working out, you're biking miles a day, you're swimming a mile every Saturday and Sunday with your homies. You like in triathlon shape, and you got a pudge at the bottom. And you're like,
you're still dope though, and you still ran a marathon.
I feel you.
It's just my duty to say that to you out loud.
I feel you. I feel you. I'm not sure, I will say, something else that Andy said that I really appreciate is I'm newly into deliberate therapy for myself. And so for the first time, actually, I meant to look it up. Give me 2 seconds. I'm actually for the first time ever taking a drug, and was recently diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which to me is just a superpower.
I know some folks.
Lexapro, that's what it is. Lexapro. I wanted to look it up. So Lexapro helps to increase your serotonin levels, which people have. And so according to my doctor and my therapist, my serotonin levels have been 0 or very super low my entire life. And so I feel completely different. And I'm on a very low dosage. I'm on 10 milligrams. And so to imagine, like, if this was the bottom and like, this is normal, I'm just making this up, if this is normal, like I've been here my whole life. And so Lexapro has been able to bring me to normal. Now, some people are on 20 milligrams and they're like, oh shit, turn up. And I'm just happy to be normalized and to not want to cry at everything. And then, of course, the whole going through perimenopause thing will fuck you up and all of that. So anxiety has a lot to do with how your body digests food, how it appreciates food, how your relationship with food, also how you think about the food that you eat. So yesterday, I had 2 Krispy Kreme donuts. I didn't give a fuck. I was excited. I ate them. Yes, Krispy Kreme. Thank you. Thank you so much. And then
berries.
Exactly. So now today I'm drinking a smoothie and drinking my water, and I'm going for a run later. So your relationship with the anxiety and food too helps to process differently in your body. Okay. And so, yes, I understand that I'm not, I know you can't see me, but I'm not fat. I'm not like obese. I'm not none of those things. I run 5 to 10 miles a day, every day. And I'm in great shape. I bike, swim, run. I'm black triathlete, black marathoner, but I just
these love handles though.
Tell
us about what poem did that lead you to?
So, classic writer Emily Dickinson, a short poem as well. And this title is what caught me. This poem is new to me. It's I Am Afraid to Own a Body. I was like, oh, hello. So it says, I am afraid to own a body. I'm afraid to own a soul, profound, precarious property, possession not optional, double estate, entailed at pleasure upon an unsuspecting heir, H-E-I-R, duke in a moment of deathlessness, and God for a frontier.
Duke in a moment of
and God, I love that last line, and God for a frontier. Duke in a moment of deathlessness. Deathless. So living forever.
Deathlessness. God in a moment of fear, God the frontier.
And God for a frontier.
I'm jotting that down. We're gonna duck you into the green room, and I'm gonna bring you back on to continue this God as a frontier, this body as in deathlessness. And I'm going to invite our next guest to the screen. So thank you for this conversation. We're going to bring you back in a moment. And our next voice, our last person for this part of the conversation, was coming all the way from Toronto. We have Miss Motion. Motion, how are you doing?
What's up? What's up?
All the good stuff. I love the color in your hair.
Ah, thanks.
So tell us, how are you doing in these strangest of times?
Wow, just it's funny to even think that we've done 2 months up here, and just basically been trying to keep the faith, keep the mentality going, and work. There's a lot of work, which is crazy at this time for me. And I guess the big thing was, especially at the beginning, was just that thing of the unknown, like what is coming up, what's going on, what's this all about, where's this going to lead to, what's the world going to look like? And so I think right now I'm a little bit more just trying to say, okay, let's just get through this and prepare and keep connecting with others, and reading and dancing and creating and taking care of self and family as much as possible at this time,
Definitely. It definitely has been a process of, especially as creatives, you go from having a particular schedule. And then I know for me, was going through the worry and the panic. So to be on this side of, Angie and I were also talking earlier, planning is not exactly a thing. You still have things to create. You still have a community that you're tending to. So what were you in the middle of writing? Did you stop to make time for this conversation?
Well, I to make time for the conversation, what was interrupted was just listening to 24 Hours of Stevie Wonder on IG.
What?
With Stevie Wonder 24 for his 70th birthday. They've been running it with like Questlove and D Nice and DJ Tara. They're about to get into DJ Spinner soon. So yeah, so that's been going on since midnight. 70 years of Stevie, and so when we're thinking about body, I'm just thinking about how many bodies he's moved. Spiritually, emotionally, physically.
Oh my goodness!
Six decades. So it's like
consistently.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Thank you for that. I would have been sad to have missed that. So I definitely
tune back in, and just it's going on right now. So that's what I was listening to.
Most definitely. So give us a little bit of background then. So we know that there's some writing that happens. We know you've got excellent taste in music, from Stevie to the Fugees back there on your wall. So tell us a little bit of who is Motion.
Well, what would I say? Born and raised in Toronto, Canada, dancing and singing since probably 2. They always say, but by the time I could walk, I was dancing before I could walk. So that's the legend in my family. And writing about since I was around 7, when my mother gave me my first little red book, and said writing it every day, and writing just became part of me. Moving on into MCing and writing rhymes from about the age of 12, and then getting into hip hop radio for a long time with the Master Plan show, which is still on even after all these years. And then one day, someone, a brother named Black Cat, was putting on a spoken word show here in Toronto, and it was called All True Spoken Word Poetry in Motion. And he's like, Motion, come and perform, man, come do something. And I was like, well, I'm a MC. I'm not a poet. And he's like, yeah, you probably have some poems. And I did.
He's like, I think there might be 1 or 2.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like those rhymes that weren't actually flowing on a beat, like they'd go off the beat, and I was like sort of feeling them without the rhythm. Like it was more like, oh, it has its own internal rhythm. So, I went up, did a rhyme, and then I did one of my my offbeat rhymes, and there it was, and just getting involved with the poets and the MCs in the city and beyond. So that was basically, a big part of my, I guess, on the mic life. And it was really great to then start thinking about how much I love storytelling, and a certain piece that I had called Midnight, where an MC had said to me, yo, like, that's like a movie, you know what I mean? That was like a movie, because it was talking about like walking into a dance, and, you're there and you dance with your peeps, and the, bottles, up at your face and the music pumping, and then all of a sudden you're pow, 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 and everybody, your body dropping, and all the madness that goes on when violence invades the party. And so when
violence invades the party.
Yeah, when he said that, I was like, all right, yeah, and it started making me think about the visuals of the words that we say, that we write, and I was really interested in dramatic writing and getting more knowledge of how to write plays and eventually for the screen. So now I'm a playwright as well, and writing for TV. So just taking poetry wherever I could take it, the word sound power.
Thank you for when it didn't make sense. I'm sure there are many days where that didn't make sense. And heeding that advice, that red notebook that you and your mother.
Yeah, that one little. I always remember it, and that when I go back and look at it and think, oh wow, today I ate popcorn and went to school. Like just telling those little. So what's important to you then?
Perspective is a thing, right?
Yeah, and then going to your teenager, it's like, the world stinks. I love these men. He doesn't love me. I hate that girl. I hate myself. Oh my God, I don't want to talk to anybody. And then, but then the jam was nice.
Priorities do shift a little bit. How did you enter this body discussion? What was the first thing that came to you?
Well, when we were talking about like images, and I thought of body, the first thing that came to my mind was skin, and then the heart. And I think when I was like, is that an image? But skin as the house of the body that houses the body, and then the heart as the internal beating of the body that tells us that it's alive, right? So from the feeling on the outside to the beating on the beating and the breathing on the inside, which makes us be, makes this body be, makes us know that we're alive and we're existing. Those were the two images that came to my mind.
And thinking about when you talk about the skin, when we were talking, I remember realizing how fragile skin is, how fragile the body is. Some learned, in an accident, just what can happen to the body.
Yeah.
And with skin specifically, and reminded how tender and how soft and how vulnerable and how really we're not that strong when you talk about the skin and the heart and all the things that make this container that moves ourselves. So it's a wonder in a lot of ways that we are do all the things we're able to do. And it's also, it's I don't want to say frightening, but it's humbling to be reminded that it doesn't take much.
And it's funny that you even said like the tenderness, because often I guess as an artist or as like a Black person in this world, as a woman, you're thinking about the tough skin, you know what I mean? That skin, or the metaphorical tough skin that you have to have, or that you have to grow in order to survive and thrive in this world, to keep on moving. But just by you saying, but it is very vulnerable. It's a very tender thing. It takes nothing to break the skin, but it's the healing, right, of the skin that becomes, I guess, that takes it to the next level, So it's something I'd even think about in that way.
Yeah. All right, do you have a history with breakings and accidents and healing? Because I know for me, it's the idea of not broken anything before. So I know we all can come back together. Good is new sometimes, sort of.
Right.
But I think you'd have a different appreciation for the hurt and the healing if your actual body has actually had to hurt and heal.
Good point. Yeah, I think so far, and let's hope it stays like this, on the outside, I don't think I've sustained as many injuries, right? And so even like things like even things that now become part of my body, like falling down at the age of 7 or scraping my legs raw on the concrete off a bike or whatever, they're still there. Like sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. That's just part of me, right? I think when it comes to the injuries, for myself, I think it's more there. I don't think injury is the right word, but just pain is more internal.
Yeah,
that are internal, healing that I can't see, and that's or the need for healing for places that I can't see, and that could be very frustrating, you know?
The need for healing for places that I can't see. We're not always patient for that because
Right,
you put
yeah.
an ointment on it, you can't spray anything on it.
Yeah, you can't just put some, you know,
And
some lanacane or, you know, foreign or even aloe or whatever. But I guess when we think about it, or now I'm saying it out loud, then those same things that we may use to salve our outsides are things that can heal our insides. The same, not the lanacane.
Right. Not President Trump's recommendation to swallow bleach or anything.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but we're talking about like the gingers and the water and you know what I mean? And things like that. So maybe if we just start thinking of our inside, or me start thinking of my inside like the outside, like I might not be able to see it, but I can think about what can heal, you know?
Do you find that you have a regimen? So both Andy and Sheba were talking about, you know, working out and spin classes and running and eating twigs and berries. And there are things that we do to take care of that inner and outer body. And there's healing things that we should and shouldn't do. Do you have a regimen that into outer and in?
Maybe something more recent, like let's say looking at this era that we're in, you know, Corona season, right? Is just I'm very regimented about what I'm taking in the morning. You know what I mean? Like I want to keep up my immune system, you know, and so it's like, you know, have my little tinctures and what I'm drinking, and you know, like okay, think before anything else goes in my body. Like it's become like a more of a ritual because I just feel, I guess, the pressure to keep healthy in these times. You know, you don't want to leave yourself vulnerable to catching things or to being vulnerable to viruses and things like that. So I just want to. So that's one of the things, you know. So put in the apple cider vinegar with some chlorophyll, with some aloe, with some, you know, oil of oregano, vitamin B, every thing, you know, you know, the fire coming out of it, and then just down that, man. So that, you know, it's not a big deal. Some people do that all the time, but I think it's just the focus is now making me say, yeah, like it's not just something to do when I remember. Try to make sure that these little things I'm incorporating daily, you know.
And not to let them go.
And not to let them go, yeah. But I don't think we'll have the luxury of that. You know, we have to keep strong.
I know, and I thank you for saying that. We aren't going to have the luxury of that, and it's to be reminded that this is not going to be a veil that gets lifted and we go back to what it was like in January. And I know it feels that people may feel that way.
Oh yeah, but don't you? I don't know. I'm remembering when they said when I you know, that day that they said, oh, we're shutting down the schools for 3 weeks, and I was like, 3 weeks. You know what I mean? What's happening? Right? And it's like, okay, well, 3 weeks. Okay, well, I guess we can chill for 3 weeks. Right? So
were you this mindful of some scale of, were you this mindful of health before all of this?
I've been mindful of health. I think this has just made me much more focused on it. You know, it's just more urgent for me. It's just putting more of a spotlight on the need to take care of myself and those around me, you know, and but I have to be able to take care of myself, and that's important, you know. So
you've seen a lot of memes around just what this season, I like the Corona season, this season has brought people to in terms of Zen, in terms of finding ways to improve and build themselves and all that kind of good stuff, right? And it's interesting how this has also given us permission to take holistic care of ourselves. And not that it's new. We've always had permission. We've always been encouraged to, but I don't know, going to find oil of oregano may have been too much work before, or even studying what it takes to may have been too, only those 5%ers are worried about that. So it's something that everybody has a different appreciation for. So I'm just definitely, I know I've picked up some habits and we're all just thinking about things very Dr. Sebi-ish.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's really, like you said, it's a matter of survival moving forward.
And I think it's when it's everyone at the same time is probably what makes it, you know, different. Like, let's say if we're going through a situation or, you know, some type of health health crisis or whatever might, bring us in our own separate spaces to an awareness of some next level that we want to help ourselves with, health wise. But when it's us collectively and we're all collectively having this discussion, I think it's really about that. Not to say it wasn't being done before, exactly like what you said. It's just we're collectively in a situation globally as a people, you know what I mean? There's many who cannot go and buy some oil of oregano, Right?
I love just that sentence, that phrase coming out of you from your voice, collectively, globally as a people. Collectively, globally as a people. There's a lot of power in that. That maybe the next wave of how we collectively, globally as a people stay healthy, have these conversations, and just really remember that we are not by ourselves. We are not victim to the structure that we are, but then we're not. So I that sentence by itself is really doing something for me in this moment. Can you share a little bit about the poem that all this led you to?
Sure. Yeah. So the poem, just from what I said before about body moving into skin and heart, and skin and heart as in feeling and beating, made me think about rhythm. The rhythm and movement, and how I personally have been feeling alive, or helping me to feel alive is through movement in these times. Music and dance has been just my healing, you know what I mean? I don't even know if it's healing, just basically keeping me up, keeping me getting up, keeping me, listening to music, falling in love with music even more deeply, really listening to songs and lyrics and hearing every single instrument, and then like feeling how it feels in my body, and like just dancing all the time, and really feeling that heartbeat in the music and how it's affecting my body. And I think it's been, over these past couple months, has been a real gift. And I know for many people, because so many are coming together with music right now, right? And like listening to DJs and watching Erica Badu and Jill Scott, and you know what I mean? Like, damn. And what I thought about the other day was how much music and the arts, well, let's just talk about sound and movement, has been a part of our healing and our resistance and our everything from time, right? So even within this time, we're seeing that sort of renaissance of the loudness and the rhythm again, right? Because we're going through something. And so the poem that it led me to was Limbo. It's a poem called Limbo by Kamal Brathwaite, and Kamal basically is looking at limbo, the whole thing of limbo as a dance, as a part of resistance, and as a metaphor for our consistent movement, I think. So so that's lyrically what I got out of it, and I like the rhythm of it,
Please share.
Yeah.
Please.
Okay. And limbo stick is the silence in front of me. Limbo, limbo, limbo like me. Limbo, limbo, limbo like me. Long dark night is the silence in front of me. Limbo, limbo, limbo like me. Stick hit ground and the ship like it ready. Stick hit sound and the dart still steady. Limbo, limbo, limbo like me. Long dark deck and the water surrounding me. Long dark deck and the silence is over me. Limbo, limbo like me. Stick is the whip and the dark deck is slavery. Stick is the whip and the dark deck is slavery. Limbo, limbo, like me. Drumstick knock and the darkness is over me. Knees spread wide and the water is hiding. Limbo, limbo, like me. Knees spread wide and the dark ground is under me. Down, 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 and the drummer is calling me. Limbo, 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 like me. Sun coming up and the drummers are praising me. Out of the dark and the dumb gods are raising me. Up, 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 and the music is saving me. Hot, slow step on the burning grounds. Limbo, limbo like me.
Yes. Thank you. One, I have not heard that piece in its entirety. And I love how one is written with the rhythm, and with your read, you reminded us about everything you just said. It's lyric, it's music, and I was bouncing to a punk, and we need that, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to invite everyone. I want to tell everyone that's watching, thank you. We are at our time, but I want to give a few more minutes to make sure we bring all these voices back together. So wanted to just have expanded conversation about body. We covered a lot of ground, and we all
I'm gonna Venmo him now $20. I can do that, and then okay.
Let's just all just
I'll send you his Venmo.
making her business transaction right now.
And Venmo. Here it is.
Sheba.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Hello. My bad. Sorry, I'm multitasking, y'all. I'm working.
We were like, let's just check out her transaction. Who's
Send me some Venmo.
My bad. I am trying to, like I said, do some home decorating while I got the time, boy. Woo.
No, that's right. But I wanted to thank all of you, and I really appreciate, even though there were different entrances into the conversation, they were all about our relationship with the idea of body. And what's really poignant is we are, again, all super, super, super grown. What does Sheba say? We're like 20-something-ish plus 20 more years. And still, we are negotiating these relationships with body. And on one hand, we can blame it on the media because it's the media's fault. We can blame it on a lot of things. And how do we as grown folks still carry forward? And I don't want to say do better because I don't think that's judgmental. But that was my thought about your conversation. What are some things that you got from what you heard today?
I think we all have room to grow. I used to think that there was a place where you start to coast. There's no coasting. I think you're growing and learning and morphing until you die. You know, even my my understanding about relationships and partnering has evolved this year. I didn't realize I was a spoiled brat. I had to grow up a little bit. Sorry.
It does sneak up on you.
Yeah, it does. And I think we put a stigma on people in age. And, you know, I used to stop telling people my age, not because I'm ashamed at all. I appreciate every year I've been given and earned. I think that when we say, oh, you're 40 or you're 50, we expect something from, you know, that person in that bracket, and don't expect shit from me, but my day to day, you know. So I think, think we can all live, learn, and grow until we're dust. Basically.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's nice to hear that we're all, I mean, we keep saying this, that we're all connected even though we're apart, but like hearing y'all's stories talking about healing, talking about the things that you're doing to take care of yourselves, is encouraging for me to keep on keeping on. So yeah, I mean, that's what I learned, is that we're all trying to find ways to keep centered and to keep going.
Yeah, and especially what you both were talking about, like about moving, keeping moving, you know. When I find that sometimes even the thought of going into certain spaces right now, it's anxiety building, you know. Oh, there's so much people around and stuff like that. But yeah, it's like, well, don't come too close, you know, which is so much different than even just some weeks ago. But taking the time to keep moving in spite of quarantine or isolation and things like that, keep on moving.
I appreciate most how all of these discussions, they were all serious, but they weren't sad. Right. So I've had the same discussion, and there were tears involved. Right. It was almost even a disgust, a disdain for the love handles, for the spin class, all those pieces, being disconnected from a larger community body. But all of this was, I'm encouraged that it was all in positivity. It was all intentional. It was all your own movement that you're making, and you're not at the mercy of you're grappling with, but not at the mercy of. And that's always encouraging to know that that is also in the mix, because sometimes we want to pretend that we're okay. And there are degrees of okay. And I really appreciate that you all showed and shared that in your conversation today. And I want to keep all of you on the screen forever, but I know that I can't. So I would invite, if there's any lingering thoughts about body that you didn't get a chance to say.
I love Megan Thee Stallion. She's my spirit animal.
I was ready for that whole conversation.
I know, I forgot to put that in there. What I do like about her, though, so far, is that her body is natural. She's young, though. She's 24. And that she hasn't gotten any work done, and that she encourages working out. So that's the whole package that I do love about her. I mean, I'm never going to look like her, but I do appreciate that she's telling people, hey, work out, be healthy. And because she could definitely blow up, she's got the body type too, because she's, on the road and eating and rich, young and wilding, you know what I mean? So, but I appreciate that she has that balance too. I watch a lot of comedians kind of get in their late 30s, early 40s and start to work out. Kevin Hart was running a 7-minute mile. He was traveling around city to city. When he stopped in Atlanta, he would put out a tweet and say, hey, come join me for a run. And he was in a full sweatsuit doing 7 minutes a mile. So, just, I appreciate that the whole rock star lifestyle is starting to pair with, mental health and working out. And Andy too, I also paralleled how much I worked out to my mental health. And even when I was younger, my parents would exhaust me because I had so much energy, just to get me in the bed. So
instead of dealing with other issues that might be going on, that's exhausting, which doesn't actually talk about feelings or something.
Yeah.
What a conversation. No.
Yeah.
But we're going to be the vanguard to make that difference. I am kissing all three of you on the forehead because I like you like that. And I'm going to not share the whole piece because I'm mindful of the time. I want to share an excerpt of this toes idea. So this initial piece is by John Fuller, and it's called An Exchange Between the Fingers and the Toes. We're not talking about fingers right now. But the toes say, I'm shut in dark. We were once like you. Though you enslaved us, are you not slaves too? Our early balance caused you later guilt, erect of finding out how we were built. Your murders, talking to fingers, were discoveries, and they compiled a history of crime of being agile. And it is who save you when you fight. Against the odds, you cannot take flight. Despite your fabrications and your cunning, your deepest instinct is expressed in our running. Thank you all for being part of this conversation.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
It's nice talking with you all.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Nice to meet all of you.
All right.
Everybody.
And so for everyone else who's watching out here, we have 2 more conversations in this Poemalogues series. Next week, we talk about place. And then we end our series this month talking about freedom. And then we'll see you again back in the fall. So if you have comments, definitely join us here next Wednesday, 4:30 Central Standard Time. Thank you all for being here and have an amazing week until then.
Peace.
Bye.
Take care, everybody.